To the show. It is April 25th, 2022, Monday. I did not do a weekend show, but this is my way to make up for it, hopefully. Let me start by saying that I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This information is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. And this is an update for MMTLP and MMAT. And over the weekend, Sunday specifically, we had a really cool interview that took place. Thank you, Syntax, Queen of the Metaverse, for setting it up. And a whole bunch of people were there, including John Brda, which is the special guest star. John Brda, in case you did not know, is the former CEO of Torchlight Energy. So he knows what he's talking about. Also in the interview, we had Uncle Smokey asking some really good questions. Bird Lady Roller Pigeons was there. Meta Sport Channel was really cool. So thank you, Syntax Queen of the Metaverse, for doing that and playing it. It is on Twitter Spaces. And unfortunately, I don't know if I don't know how long it will be on Twitter Spaces, because Twitter Spaces is a time-limited kind of a thing. Check it out while you can. John Brda starts speaking around the 30-minute mark or so. And he talks for about, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes or so, somewhere around there. It's really worth listening to and watching to. If in the event that you're watching this sometime later, after it's not available on Twitter Space, thank you to Terry Younker, who's actually made a video of it. He's recorded it onto YouTube, so it's available. And he's got the most pertinent, he's got the information that you want there. It's all there. So thank you, Terry, for recording this. And thank you, Terry, for all you do, because Terry's out there every single day almost, and he's talking to you about Meta, telling you what's going on. It's hats off to you, man. That's all I gotta say. You're a great resource to the community, and hats off to you. Oh, by the way, I will likely be doing a interview with Terry Younker sometime later on in the week, and also with Roller Pigeons later on after that. So let's see what John Brda had to say. So this is a quick clip. This is a 5-minute clip out of 40 minutes or so. It's well worth listening to the whole thing. The whole interview, the whole chat is about an hour and a half or something like that. But it's well worth listening to. I mean, it's just awesome. Anyway, check out what John Brda has to say. This is a quick clip.
Interesting. So we'll see what happens. You know, the MMTLP thing was, a shocker, caught us all off guard.
Yes.
And that there was some mistakes made in that deal, unbeknownst to anybody, quite frankly, that allowed them to trade it. And
But to be fair, I mean, that had never ever happened before, right?
No. It's two market makers got together on the gray sheets, and the only reason they were allowed to do it is because of one word that was in the preferred, and it said transferable.
Oh, wow.
That was it. So, and they also had a QSIP number, and we also used DTC to distribute it. So it was, they got together and went to FINRA, got a ticker, and went to the gray sheets and used information from 2012 when I was the president of the company, not CEO. And it was just, OTC markets didn't do anything about it. Nobody did anything about it. They don't care. So.
Yeah. I imagine that was a frustrating, I would think maybe a right word, and this is probably bad, but I would imagine it was kind of a clusterfuck when they saw that the NMTLP was trading like, holy crap.
I was getting phone calls from my broker and from guys that were close to the deal, and like, are you looking at this ticker? I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. I was actually on a trip to Nashville when it happened, and I saw my 2.2 million shares all of a sudden worth $6.6 million in my account. I was like, oh, okay, how the hell did that happen? So that's when I started to look into it. But it's the nefarious shit going on, and
Absolutely.
We'll see.
Well, I was
Now,
thinking that TRCH was still trading in some European markets.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
That TRCH was still trading in some European markets, even still.
I don't know how much it trades over there, and I don't know that they mark, daily trades or what have you. I have no idea, but yeah, it's the interesting thing is that my theory is that MMTLP would have never happened had the books been really balanced on the dividend day. So the brokerage houses, the prime brokers, and these hedge funds never cleared their position. And
now they're kind of stuck, right?
Yep. And so they've, they started trading this so they could get, people to sell their preferred positions that were in their brokerage account so they could clear out their trade.
Exactly.
So,
because the sooner you get rid of it, they can account for it.
That's right. So, and it's
now,
still not.
Here,
can we? I still don't think it's over. To be honest with you.
Oh no, I don't think it is. Now, I do want to know if we can clear this one thing up. Since we've got you on the line, and you're as official as it gets. And I think this has been made public. If you can't answer it, just say no. You can't answer it. Everything was transferable. You just said that. That means anybody who holds the new shares of MMTLP means that get transferred too, right? They get their dividend.
Yeah, they get their dividend.
Yep. Thank you very much. I needed to hear that. Thank you. You're welcome, Bird.
I'm so glad she unmuted to do that. Do it again, Pidge. Do it again.
Yay! No, I've been hiding in office plant mode. I've been just observing in the office plant, listening in, taking notes. And then, so it's like Smokey asked the $1 million question, and we heard it.
Yeah, it's I've seen that on Twitter a lot for a long time. People were concerned about if they bought MMTLP when they're getting their shares. And I know I thought Ken had mentioned something about it before, so I didn't really say anything about it. But I mean, I know a lot of guys buying MMTLP.
So there you go. Heard it from John Brda. This is the most common question that people ask, and the question is, when divvy will I get paid? What's the deal here? And it's just a question of time. It's just a question of time. So let's have a look at the price action of MMTLP the last couple of days. It went down below $1 temporarily on Friday, ending at about $1, and today, the 25th, it just skyrocketed back up. It went all the way up to $1.20, and it ended at the high. I don't know what it did in after hours because I didn't check yet, but just be aware, the divvy that we're expecting is somewhere. Okay, Roller Pigeons is expecting somewhere in the range of, she says, $29 to what, $49, somewhere around there. Okay, that's the Roller Pigeons conservative number that she's expecting, and I took the same math she did, and I'm less conservative, so I'm expecting more. But again, it's somewhere in that range. So $1.20, $2, $3, whatever. It's still dirt cheap. I mean, if you could have picked it up for 87 cents, you got a bargain. But it's still a bargain at $1.20. Sorry. Let's look at it for the. Let's look at MetaMaterials. MetaMaterials itself also took a large increase in price because John Brda also talked about MetaMaterials during that interview as well too, and he basically said MetaMaterials is a long-term buy and hold because the technology they have is phenomenal. The deals they have are phenomenal. It just takes one of those deals to pull through, and then MetaMaterials is skyrockets and it stays high. And my personal plan is to take the payout from the divvy and reinvest it back into MetaMaterials. And that is the one thing that scares the short hedge funds like you wouldn't believe. So anyway, that's what's going on. Again, none of this is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is Information is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Okay, just FYI. So, the title of this particular video is called "Buying and Holding is Hard," and it's hard because. So I know it's hard because I've done it. Okay, I've bought and held things in the past that returned phenomenal gains, but it is so incredibly hard to do. If you hold on to MMTLP and it pays out a big dividend, pat yourself on the back, because a lot of people, a lot of really smart people, a lot of people who knew couldn't do it, right? I mean, it's really hard. So even if you know with almost a near certainty, right? I mean, I strongly believe that that we will get paid. But, you know, when you buy, you're not going to get the lowest price. Not a chance. And that means the price will go lower. And when the price goes lower, that never feels good, right? And then you'll have all sorts of other people who may or may not, understand what's going on. They'll tell you that you're throwing your money away. Certainly the shorts, the fudsters, they'll be out there telling you, hey, you're wrong. You're going to lose your money. Okay. So when I say I went through this before in the past, I bought Bitcoin when Bitcoin was $800 a Bitcoin. Okay. I didn't buy it, when it just, like when it went to 800 and then 900 and then 1,000. No, I bought it after it reached its peak of about 1,200 or so. And then this was in 2013 and it dropped. The price dropped. It dropped back down to 1,000. It didn't stay at 1,200 for long. It dropped back down to 1,000. Then it dropped back to 900, and then it dropped to 800. And I said to myself, this thing could go somewhere, and it can't hurt for me to buy some. So I bought some at 800. Okay, and then the price dropped some more. Okay, it went down to 600. It went down to 400, and I bought at 600 because I thought, hey, look, I got a nice discount from the 800. I bought a 400, and I think, I got to buy some, but I'll buy a little bit. I won't buy as much. It went down to 300. I bought a lot more because I spent the same dollar value, right? I was dollar cost averaging, right? I spent the same dollar value. I might have spent a little bit more, actually, right? I've taken whatever cash I had available and just bought some Bitcoin, right? It went down to 200. I bought some more. Most of the Bitcoin that I wound up buying was around that price point or so, right? And then what happens? It stays down there for a while, and that don't feel good. When you bought Bitcoin at $800 and it went down to $200, you're like, oh man. And people are telling you, hey, look, you better not buy any more Bitcoin. What are you doing here? What are you doing? You're buying this thing that's going down in price. You're losing money. It felt horrible. Now, granted, it didn't stay at $200 for long. So I didn't experience that horror of horrors when the price, went down to 200 and stayed at 2 and went below, because it didn't really, as far as I was concerned, stay below 200 for long, right? The price rapidly went back up to like 400, 500 or so. And around then I started getting offers from people on the street I started getting offers from people I knew who knew that I had bought Bitcoin, hey, I'd like to buy some of your Bitcoin and all that. And I was like, well, I could sell it to you, but I can't sell you much because I got to replace it, and it's going to take me time to replace it, so I can't sell you too much. Just go to Coinbase and do it. And most people didn't. They had a chance, but most people don't, because, it's easier to buy it from someone you know than to start up an account with a organization you don't. Anyway, so what happened? Price of Bitcoin goes to $400 a Bitcoin. Okay, this is where buying and holding gets hard. It gets hard on the way down. It gets even harder on the way up. Because when the price of Bitcoin is at $400 and you're getting an offer for for $500, which is like more than the price of Bitcoin to sell your Bitcoin, right? And you're like, well, I could sell it, but it's going up, Then it becomes $600, and you're getting offers for like $700 to sell your Bitcoin, right? And it'll happen. That's just the way things are, right? Then the price goes to $800, $900, and you're like, man, I made a fair amount of money. Should I sell some? Just take some profits at that time. Well, and then it goes to $1,000, $2,000, do you sell then? Because you made a lot of money from 200, you know. And so the thing with me is, it was around then that I had developed these rules and whatnot, right? And one of the first rules was never buy more than I can afford to lose. So I didn't have that much Bitcoin that I bought, but I bought some, right? So I said to myself, is this going to change my life? And the answer is, at $1,000 of Bitcoin, no, it's not going to change my life. You know, because I was buying at 200. I bought, that's a 5x gain, say, right? So it's not going to change my life. So I said, hey, you know, I got nothing to lose. I'll just leave it in there. So I left it in there for a couple of years, okay? Price goes to $20,000 a Bitcoin. Well, okay, I didn't leave it in there for a couple of years. I left it in there for like a few months. Price goes to $20,000 a Bitcoin. I mean, people are saying it's going to go to 30,000, okay? Here's where it gets hard. Price goes to $20,000 a Bitcoin. You didn't sell. I didn't sell. And then it starts dropping. Drops down from 20 to 16. Ah, okay. You're like, it's no big deal. I can hang on to this. You know, it's okay. Price drops from 16 to 10. Well, it doesn't go to 10 immediately. It goes to 14. Goes to 12. Goes to 10. At 10,000, you're like, man, I should have sold at 20,000. You know, that's going on in the back of your head. You know, and then it gets worse because the price keeps going lower, and lower. And at some point, the price of Bitcoin got as low as like 3,000 or 4,000. I stopped looking at that point. You know, because it's like, you know, you got that voice inside of your head that basically says, hey, you could have made a shitload of you could have made a lot of money if you sold, if you just took your profits, but then you didn't, you know, and it's hard. And you're saying to yourself, hey, should I sell? Whatever. But I'd been around a little bit. I saw what the Bitcoin cycles were like. I had an idea that, you know, okay, it's going to lose 90%, I figured. And it lost about 80%. It lost about 80% of its value. When something is down 80% of its value, you got a voice inside of your head that says, hey, I just want to break even. Or I just wanted to get to where it was before, right? I mean, in my case, a loss of 80% is still multiple gains, right? It's going from 200 to 3,000, say 4,000. So it's still a significant gain, but you're still saying to yourself, hey, I could have made a lot more. That's why it gets hard, right? So you hang on for a few years, and the price of Bitcoin is like, goes sideways. It doesn't do anything, right? No one's thinking about Bitcoin. People are thinking about the next big thing, right? And then the price starts moving up, right? Bitcoin starts going up all by itself. It does that because of halvings and the fact that it's got a limited supply. The fact that supply gets effectively destroyed over time because people lose their keys, so that Bitcoin becomes lost over time, right? So the price started going back up. It went up to 4,000. It went from 4,000 to 8,000 to 10,000. It was around then that I said, hey, you know, I might as well get some GPTC in my IRA. In case you didn't know, GPTC is the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. So it's a way to sort of buy Bitcoin without actually buying Bitcoin, right? You buy in a company that is buying Bitcoin. It's called Grayscale. So anyway, so they always sold at a premium, by the way. They sold at premiums of like 50%, 100% to the price of Bitcoin. But I said to myself, hey, if I want this in my IRA, I'm just going to leave it there for a long time, right? 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, whatever. I don't know how long, whatever. Just leave it in the IRA, right? So I bought some in the IRA and all that. And I bought it at 20% premium to the price of Bitcoin at the time in Grayscale because it was hard to get. So I spent the equivalent of like $12,000 of Bitcoin to buy $10,000 worth of Bitcoin. That doesn't feel good. So, but I said to myself, hey, it's going up. You know, it's on the upswing. And then it starts moving up again, right? Gets back up to 10,000, then gets 15,000, 20,000. And at that point, you're thinking, hey, should I sell? Was 20,000 a good price? Well, I knew 20,000 wasn't a good price because the last time it went from like something like, what, $70 to $1,200. I was expecting that kind of a gain. And then it went from like, $200 to $20,000. So getting up to getting back to 20,000, that's not a big number for me, right? That's not the same thing that it did before. So I knew in the back of my head, hey, this is not the time to sell. But it's still hard, right? Because when it gets to 20,000, the question is, hey, do you sell? Do you sell? Because now you got a significant, amount of money. And it's hard. It just is hard, right? So you got to hang on to know what, you own, to know where the price is going to, to know when to start to take some profits, that whole thing, right? Same thing with metamaterials and MMAT and MMTLP, I'm telling you. At some point, there's going to be a dividend. Don't know when. It's going to be significantly more than the current price today. That's one thing that I am 99.9999999% sure of. Again, not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This information is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Okay, this is just what I believe. So I believe that it will be significantly higher than it is today. So at some point, when that happens, I'm not the only one person who knows that, right? The other guys out there in the market know that. Brokers know it. The prime brokers know it. The people who have shorted Torchlight, who owe this MMTLP share, or they owe what the dividend will be, they know it. Are they trapped? I think they're trapped, Then there's the ultimate question, right? When you have these problems of one of the standard FUD tactics that that comes out, and one of the things that you think to yourself is, how am I going to cash this out, right? Like when I bought Bitcoin and it was $200 a Bitcoin, $300 a Bitcoin. It's hard to. There's no known really effective way to cash out per se. I mean, you can cash out a couple $1,000s. But if you're talking about cashing out a significant number, that's a big number, right? Let's just say that's a big number. And the problem is, who do you trust to cash out? What kind of plans do they have? What do they disclose about their stuff? So I was thinking in the back of my head that, hey, look, I looked at Coinbase. Coinbase is good. But at that time, when you look at what's on their documentation and all that about how much money you can wire in and how much money you can wire out, there were limitations. The limitations were pretty low, actually, to be honest. You couldn't wire more than a few $1,000s in. You couldn't wire more than like a few $1,000s out. And when you're talking about Bitcoin going up by a factor of 20 or 100 or, that few $1,000s, gets multiplied by a few hundred. And you're thinking to yourself, man, this, none of this makes sense. There's no way to cash out. Well, the problem solves itself in the future, right? When your account becomes that large and you can deal with it at that point, right? So the way I look at it is it's better to have the problem of figuring out how to cash out than to never have the problem that you'll never have to worry about cashing out because you never bought the stuff, right? So buying and holding is hard. Dan Held in the Bitcoin space used to say, a lot of people, truth of the matter is, so there's a term called HODL, right? It just means hold. It's a bad spelling of the word hold, that's all. Anyway, so Dan Held of the Bitcoin space used to say, buying and holding Bitcoin is hard. And the reason is that most people will, they don't actually hold on for the long play. They'll try to trade. They'll try to make some money on the side, right? And inevitably, that usually winds up to lower returns and lower profit than just buying and holding. And I believe that is the case with MetaMaterials Torchlight preferred shares and MetaMaterials, because the level of gains here that I see is similar to cryptocurrency gains of the past, maybe cryptocurrency gains of the future. Okay. So, and again, the other thing is that we know that if you've been in this space anytime, you know that there's some prominent guys in the, from the metamaterials area who are really good guys. I mean, they've made great videos. They've increased the awareness of a lot of people, and they're probably out of the space right now because they probably lost hope and sold. Those are guys who basically knew that they would make a ton of money, and they somehow they lost space. I mean, they lost hope. These things happen, you know. So don't fault them for it. Don't fault them for it. They're only human. And wish them the best, because I wouldn't be in this space without those same guys who made me aware of the potential. Okay. I'm not going to go into that. So anyway, so that's my update on metamaterials, Torchlight Preferred Shares, and John Brda. Just FYI, I am likely going to be making 2 more videos this week, or the next week somehow. I don't know. We got to figure out the timing. But there'll be live streams with Terry Younker, and later on with Roller Pigeons. Okay. Talk to you later. I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This information is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Goodbye.